also, we'll get more into about what happens during births. But I had a 10-pound, 1-ounce baby. So you can tell that, and it came vaginally, by the way. It shouldn't have. I am not capable, apparently, of having that large of a child, but no one knew. No one knew it was going to be that big. So definitely felt a lot. And I definitely felt the needle of suturing me back together.
You definitely want to communicate with your doctors and nurses. It's extremely important. But that's what it is. It's communication. And if you are not capable of communication, you have to have somebody who is.
And have talked it all out.
And have discussed it in advance. You have a partner in most situations. I'm sure there are lots of single ladies out there. But if you don't have a partner, surely you have a friend, family member, somebody who can go with you. And you've discussed your concerns, their concerns, whatever in advance. I like to write things down because that's the type of person I am. I literally have a notebook I carry in my purse. So when I have a thought, I jot it down. And then when I go to the doctor's office, I'm flipping through my notes because I'm like, hold on, I know I wrote this down.
But you gotta be quick.
So, but it's important that you get those concerns and questions out there. And so if you physically can't, somebody else physically should. So having a partner, a friend, a family member, it doesn't matter how awkward it is. You can ask them to step out of the room when you're having your exam done or you're giving birth or whatever. But it's important that they're there to speak up for you because you won't be able to at all times. So I feel like that's highly important. My last birth, that would be a great example of I needed somebody to speak up, and thank God my husband did. So.
And you really need to have your expectations lined out with that partner that you choose. Mm-hmm. Because, like, in the room, even for exams at your doctor's office, there's a friend chair. Depending on the procedure you're having done, I don't know what kind of friend is coming with you. But they're a really good friend if they come with you on some of them. But as far as that, there's different situations that you might be put in that you might want to let them know. If something like this happens, I'd like you to just walk out.
Yeah. Don't let them expect that they have to sit there the whole time. I mean, yes. I love Rosie, but I'm not inviting her to my OBGYN appointment. If I had to take somebody, I'm going to make my husband go suffer through and be awkward for him because Lord knows it's going to be awkward.
I don't have a party at the OBGYN at all. I go alone 99% of the time. But if you need that moral support, by God, you get it.
Same. I prefer to go alone for those appointments. Now, when I was pregnant and going in for those appointments, absolutely, I made my husband take off work with me, and we went together because, by God, he's going to suffer with me, which then brought its own set of embarrassments because he said
a lot of mine
dumb
was
stuff.
By myself.
Mine said dumb stuff. I was like, can you just shut up? Like, oh my God, like, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm funny. And I'm like, nobody thinks you're funny. Did you see that nurse's face? Nobody thinks you're funny. So anyway, but like I said, that's kid number 3.
My husband just panics. So he's not typically invited very often.
Pick who you want to be your partner when you do these things. It's important, right? Oh my goodness.
It doesn't have to be your significant other.
It doesn't have to be. Some people have really close friends. I have really close friends. Actually, my birth plan for this last baby was that my best friend's husband was actually going to be in the birthing room with me because we figured out of all of us, he'd be the one that could handle it the best. And he promised he could cry on command. He's like, if you need me to cry, I can cry for you. And I was like,
but if you need me not to, he won't. But
he would have been like the best birthing coach. Like that's the type of person he is. And like I said, he's my best friend's husband. So that's out there. I told the doctor this and she looked at me like I was crazy. But literally that was our goal. And my best friend was going to sit out in the hall with my husband.
To keep him calm.
Somebody has to keep him calm because God did not bless him with some people respond well in emergency situations. It is not him. So he would have fainted in the birthing room, which we're going to tell that story. That story is happening, y'all. It was insane. Yours was insane.
Oh, yeah.
We've
got to reserve that for...
I've had completely normal births.
The hospital.
But I totally have insane birth stories. So, since we're speaking of hospitals, it's important to know what hospital their doctor services. If you're planning to have a baby or any surgical procedure, that matters. Like, you need to know what hospital, because I totally have hospital preferences.
Mine is absolutely trauma levels and whether or not they have neonatal care.
There you go. You gotta have specifics.
Which is good because my child ended up needing NICU. And those NICU nurses, let me tell you, they put him in a rhythm and a schedule, and they taught me how to bathe my child. I was so set up for success by those NICU nurses. And I send them little photos and letters like every 6 months.
I think that's great. But nurses in the birthing wards, like y'all, are spectacular. Like, yes. I've never had a nurse that I was like, I can't believe that bitch just walked in this room.
But they're the one you want in there when you shit yourself.
Exactly. It will happen. Also, you need to have a doctor who's going to respect your wishes. You need to have your religious beliefs lined out in advance. I know some people do, some people don't. It's okay one way or the other, but if you're of a religion that you're like, I can't have blood transfusions, your doctor needs to know. It needs to be in writing. It needs to be in your file, because once it reaches that level, the hospital has to respect your wishes as well.
And you're also probably not coherent or conscious.
By the time it gets to that point, yeah. By the time you need your emergency whatever, you have no idea. So you always need somebody who's going to speak up for you, whether it be your doctor, spouse, partner, friend, family member. Like, all of these things need to be lined down in advance, and everyone needs to be aware of your wishes. I think that's highly important. Do you like to have people in the room, whether you're doing your vaginal exam or you're having a baby or you're doing your mammogram? Obviously, nobody can be in the room when you have your mammogram. I'm sorry, because it's radiation. They don't let people in the room. But if you wanted somebody to hang out
be in the lobby,
in the waiting room for you, they totally could, right?
For mental support.
Because sometimes it's scary going and having a mammogram done.
Yes,
so
especially when you don't know the outcome.
If you're expecting terrible news, you want somebody there with you. Absolutely take somebody with you. But that matters, right? Like, them knowing your wishes. I'm having a baby, and I don't want anybody in this room. Nobody's coming in this room, right? The doctor gets to make those calls. They can lock the door. When I had my last child, people were filing in like it was like some kind of party. I don't know what was happening. Event. Yeah, like, it was just a disaster. I'm going to save that for later. But just know that people were coming in, and the doctor was like, who in the hell are all... And I'm like, no, it's cool. They're cool. They can totally see me, like, bring in the next person. Like, it was a thing. But it was also pre-COVID, so all you post-COVID people...
Yeah, totally different.
Your birthing experience will be completely different. I almost guarantee it. But let's wrap back to the wine real quick, because obviously I'm very toasty, and it's getting very warm in this room. I've been drinking. I'm on my almost third glass.
But it is Texas.
It's Texas. It's really hot outside today, guys. They're predicting it to be like almost 100 degrees. So, anyways, this wine is nice and cool, though. Especially chilled is fantastic. I think it would even taste good if you just popped it open and drank it over some ice. Like, I'd be down for that. Like, this is so soft.
You know, it tastes like alcohol, but I drink it pretty smoothly.
Yeah. So I think this is the fastest I've seen you drink a glass.
Ever.
Like, ever.
Life. And it's not a full glass.
Yeah, we are pouring ourselves tasting samples, which, in case y'all don't know, is like, I don't know, it's like almost if you took your finger to the bottom of the glass and held it up, it's just that tip part of your finger. I don't know how else to describe it.
That's one heck of a measuring device.
I'm like, it's like not an inch of pour, right? It's like a quarter of an inch.
We are amateurs.
I'm holding up my fingers. I know you can't see it. But just know a sample size is not much. If you go to a winery, which I love to do, and I highly recommend if you have some in your area, you totally take tours and do so. But their pour sample sizes you get to see, like, that is a sample size. If you make friends with the people who pour, your sample sizes become heavy pours, and it's like getting 2 shots versus a shot. But the idea is you sip it. Right? Like, you're supposed to sip it.
Yes.
So, but I do highly recommend this wine. It is absolutely delicious. Messina Hof Winery, I know, has really beautiful locations. They've got one in Bryan, Texas. They've got one in Fredericksburg. And they've got one somewhere else. But I haven't been to that location, so I'm not familiar with it. But if it's anything like these other 2 locations, guaranteed to be gorgeous. Because Fredericksburg, y'all, has, like, the best of the best wines.
And a great atmosphere.
Oh my God, it is so pretty. The hill country of Texas, y'all. If you've never been, you're missing out. Like,
it could be hot, could be cold, could be snowing, could be sleeting.
But doesn't matter.
You know, the atmosphere is still the same.
It's still, like, It's definitely a tourist place, but it's totally worth it. So, one last story to tide us up off of OBGYNs before we run out is that there was a story going around online like several years ago that this woman's kids were doing an art craft and she was in a hurry to get to her OBGYNs. They'd done crafts. They apparently made a mess. They wiped it up. Well, she goes into the bathroom to freshen up before her doctor's appointment, wipes her cooch, I'm sorry I'm using that word, with a rag, and goes to the doctor's office, undresses for the doctor, props herself up on the table. He goes in for a check and goes, wow, nobody's ever taken this kind of effort for me before. She had glitter in her vagina. I don't know how you get glitter in your vagina. I think it's a great story. It's like throwing a mini party for your doctor. Like, all she was missing was, like, disco music.
Right?
I don't know. I'm impressed.
I definitely recommend being clean. But, you know, glitter's going above and beyond the Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's not necessary. And I bet it feels like sandpaper in your hoo-ha.
That sounds terrible.
It sounds terrible, but it's still a funny story, and I thought I'd end it on a high note.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but that's going to wrap up today's episode. We hope you enjoyed this wine and our motherhood adventure we shared with you today. Thank you for tuning in and turning up with us. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We do have both. It's at Mom's Guide 2. That's the number 2, wine. Leave us a love note, an episode suggestion, or just say hi.
Hey.
This is Eliza.
And this is Rosie.
And we'll be talking to you soon.